Hello and welcome to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. It's everyone's favourite time of the month, Blair. It's European week and we're back for the European special show. Now, I've got this fixed now. Before we get into any of this discussing the action from this week, from match day 4, we've got to speak about what you are wearing today, Blair. Love a little Dortmund number. What's that on your chest today?
Yep, pleasure to be back, Adam. It's very much a German theme today. This is
absolutely, yeah.
This is the Borussia Dortmund away top from 2008. Bit of an interesting sash detail with the sponsor down it. It's one of my favourite shirts from over the years. And what's that you've got on there?
Yeah, this is the current third shirt of Bayern Munich. This season's third shirt for the 2023-24 season. And on the back as well, 2 goals in the game this week. I don't know if you can see that. Harry Kane, number 9, absolutely fantastic. Great player. You were having a go at me for having a
just get the Kane in there. I'm just having visions of you on the five-a-side park pulling away doing the Harry Kane celebration. Am I right?
No, don't score enough goals.
Oh, right.
Don't score anywhere near enough goals. But no, nice little floral design on this.
Yeah, different. I like the colour scheme as well.
Yeah, different badge as well. No, it's great. Absolutely love this. You're right. This is actually our five-a-side team's jersey. So that's why we've got it. Anyway, enough of speaking about our garments. Let's talk about the results from this week. We'll start with Tuesday's fixtures. We can bring them on screen for you now. The first early game, we had Dortmund 2, Newcastle 0. Shakhtar Donetsk, big upset, beating Barcelona 1-0. Lazio, important victory at the Stadio Olimpico over Feyenoord. 2-0 victory for Porto over Royal Antwerp. Man City disposing of Young Boys 3-0. Massive victory at the San Siro for Milan. 2-1 victory over PSG. Atletico Madrid 6-0 against Celtic in Madrid, and Red Star Belgrade falling to a 2-1 loss to RB Leipzig. Blair, what happened on Wednesday?
Yep, on Wednesday in the early games, Napoli drew 1 each with Union Berlin. Sociedad beat Benfica 3-1 at home. Sociedad raced away into a 3-0 lead.
Run their on.
Arsenal 2-0 against Sevilla at the Emirates. Bayern Munich and 2 goals for your man, Harry Kane. They beat Galatasaray 2-1 at home. The undoubtedly for me, the game of the week. Copenhagen 4, Manchester United 3. We'll talk about that later. Unbelievable. PSV Eindhoven 1, Lens 0, Real Madrid 3, Braga 0, and Inter Milan left it late, but they beat Red Bull Salzburg 1-0 over in Austria.
Yeah, well, let's start with the home sides. Celtic first, 6-0 defeat to Madrid. A sobering evening at the Wanda Metropolitano Stadium. But this game really was done at the red card, wasn't it, Blair?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's been a lot of debate over this week over Dyson Maida's red card and whether it was, whether it wasn't. Either way, it completely changed the game. I think it was always going to be a difficult task for Celtic going over there. And I think the red card just made it doubly difficult. But the thing that I took from that game was Antoine Griezmann. I thought it was an absolutely unbelievable display.
He's the man.
He's 32 years old now. He's one of these guys that I always thought was always going to be young forever, but 32 years old, and you see it with players when they drop back into this sort of deeper role, maybe centre forwards that have been out-and-out goal scorers over their career. He's kind of playing a little bit deeper, and I thought it was epitomised in that goal where he popped up on the right-hand side, and that cross ball is absolutely delicious onto the head of Jimenez, who puts that across from Morata. And I just thought it was an outstanding performance. Yeah,
I think the commentators picked up on it during the match, but it's really interesting that guys like Griezmann, Morata, Saul have tried to go to other clubs and make careers elsewhere. It's not really happened, but they come back to Atleti with Diego Simeone, and it just seems like he can get the best out of these guys.
Yeah, the atmosphere he's forged around that club is unbelievable. It's unlike a lot of things I've ever seen in football. They obviously want to play for this guy so much, and you've seen him on the touchline there, again, running up and down.
I love that he's still 4-4-2 every game as
well. He's still completely going for it. And I think he said a really interesting thing about Griezmann. There was a lot of talk of him going to Saudi Arabia in the summer when so many others went. He knocked it back and he stayed with Atleti, and Diego Simeone said this man is born to play with Atletico Madrid, and I think that is borne out in his performances during the week.
Absolutely. Well, 6-0 victory for them. So let's talk about, you wanted to speak about some of the biggest margins in Champions League history. So I think we can bring up a graphic that takes you through some of those just now. There's been 2 games that have been won by 8 goals, Blair.
Yep, it was two of the biggest results ever in Champions League history. It was held for quite a while by Liverpool. They beat Besiktas 8-0 in 2007. Goals from José Benayoun, Peter Crouch, Steven Gerrard, and a young Ryan Babel at the time. He got 2 in that game as well.
That's a streets won't forget player, Ryan Babel.
Yeah, Ryan Babel, one of the wonder kid for a long time. We'll talk about that later, but yeah, Ryan Babouin, name you may have forgotten. Real Madrid then joined them in that record in 2015. They beat Malmo 8-0 as well. 8-0. What an how do you bring yourself up after a result like that? Karim Benzema.
I've been beat 8-0 before, Blair, trust me. It's terrible.
Karim Benzema getting 3 goals that game, outshone by Cristiano Ronaldo, who picked up 4 goals in that game, and Mateo Kovacic getting 1 as well. Just as well there, Celtic obviously losing 6-0 the other night. Not quite the biggest ever defeat in Europe. That was a 7-0 defeat to Barcelona in 2016. But there's no shame in that. They're not the only team to lose by a 7-goal margin. 11 games, would you believe, have been decided by a 7-goal margin in the Champions League. So there's been plenty of one-sided results over the course.
Yeah, plenty of goals across this week, but not a great week for the British sides in the Champions League. Blair, we can talk about Dortmund and Newcastle. What a group. Everyone was talking at the start about how great a group that was going to be. Now it's perfectly poised. 2 games to go. 3 points separates first to fourth. But it was a massive victory for Dortmund over Newcastle.
Yeah, I think we spoke a lot about how we thought Newcastle would get out of this group, how they would do really well. Not looking so hot anymore
now at the bottom, yeah.
After losing 2 games in a row to Borussia Dortmund. But I mean, fair play to Borussia Dortmund. I think they really done a job on Newcastle over the 2 games. They went to St James's Park last time out and we said, what a brilliant performance. And they done it again. They dominated them the other night, and I thought it was a great result. And also, it featured one of my favourite goals of the week. That second counter-attacking goal from Julian Brandt. I thought it was brilliant. I mean, it was so simple, but when you're watching Brandt running at Tino Livramento, and Livramento doesn't know whether he stay or go, and you can see him, you can see the decision making in his head. You go, do I commit to this? Do I not? Because he's got a man to square it to.
He's done either way.
And
it doesn't matter.
He takes one step towards the man in the middle. Julian Brandt moves the ball into the bottom corner. It's a brilliant finish and so clinical.
Some great goals this week. So let's talk about that. Favourite goal this week, of course, was the Dortmund goal. For me, I loved Haaland's second goal against Young Boys. It's just the way he's running, and it's like he's running almost at 180 degrees parallel to the goal line.
Yeah.
And then it's like he just somehow wraps his foot, bang, right across and into the top. The power he generates, it's ridiculous.
That's what I was going to say. How he manages to generate that power when the ball is going across him.
Yeah.
And you almost think it's running away from him, and out of nowhere it's like an absolute rocket into the top corner. It's just unstoppable.
I love that when they can generate so much power without any backlift or running onto it. It was like another goal. It was Morata's second goal against Celtic as well. He pops up with the right foot and then left foot volley. He
teased it up to himself. It was just unbelievable. Javi Simons as well for Red Bull Leipzig, where he takes it past a couple of men and puts it in that far corner. But as well as this week, we've been thinking about our favourite Champions League and European goals of all time, and we went out to the streets to ask people what their favourite European goal ever is.
Teddy Sheringham's in the 1999 Champions League final for Man United against Bayern Munich.
Favourite European goal? Yanis Hadji's free kick against Braga.
Cristiano Ronaldo against Juventus when he done that overhead kick.
Probably Zidane at Hampden.
Ooh, I remember Ian Durant scoring, I think it was against Marseille, corner of the box, outside his box. But again, that's the kind of one that stands out for me when I was younger.
I'll say Mark Caterley, 1992 against Marseille.
Some great goals in there. Some biased opinions as well, I believe, for supporters of certain clubs. Absolutely, they've got the right for that to be their favourite. I'm surprised at Ibrox we didn't get any John Lundstrom.
Yep, I think that may have been a bit too recent. I think people may be going for something a little bit different. It got me thinking this week about what my favourite all-time goal in the Champions League is, and that was just an excuse for me to spend an hour on YouTube going back through the 20, the 10, the best, greatest goals in the Champions League. It took me to Philippe Mexes. I don't know if you remember this one, 2012. He's playing for AC Milan. He's a central defender. They're playing Anderlecht, and the ball comes to him on the far right corner of the box, and he unleashes this unbelievable bicycle kick. And you know what it's like when you see guys do these overhead kicks, and it loops and it loops and it drops into the top corner, and he goes berserk as if he has never scored in his life. I mean, fair play, it's absolutely unbelievable as well. Dejan Stankovic, a goal he scored for Inter Milan. It's a really famous one. I know viewers will probably have seen it.
Saw it a million times on TikTok. Amazing.
Manuel Neuer, I think that was really like when sweeper keeper, that sort of phrase became really fashionable in the mid 2000s. He heads the ball out, and Dejan Stankovic on the drop from just inside the halfway line, right into the back of the net. Unbelievable finish.
The thing is, Neuer's not actually done anything wrong for that one either. He's actually done really well to come out to include it. You're never expecting Stankovic to just the way just fades the ball, just bang.
To have that technique, it's a technique you only dream about, and it makes you go, That's the only reaction it elicits when he scores a goal like that. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, you spoke about Mexis, so let's talk about his former club, AC Milan, beating PSG 2-1. Olivier Giroud.
He's still doing it.
Olivier Giroud, talk to me.
You write him off, people think he's not getting the credit he deserves. Is he a world-class striker? He wins the World Cup, he wins all sorts of titles, and he keeps popping up still with goals like that. And what a header it was. I know the PSG players kind of stopped. They thought the game was maybe going to get stopped for a free kick, but Olivier Giroud, he's still on it. He's still got that predatory striker's instinct to pop up into the back of the net. What a header.
I remember seeing a tweet about Olivier Giroud, and it was something along the lines of how it was like a highlight video of all of his goals, and his goal catalogue was like, it's ridiculous, and the caption was like, how am I meant to convince my kids that this guy wasn't the greatest footballer of all time?
Yeah.
Like, when
you see some of his finishes. I remember back on the scorpion kicks he scored for Arsenal, and you look at him and go, he's just such a great all-round centre forward, and he really is a player that definitely doesn't get enough credit. I think he's one of the guys that when he retires will definitely be looked at a lot more favourably than he is now, because people will look back on him and go, like you said, what a back catalogue this guy's got. And again, the other night, just proving it again that they can do that. Bookended as well with one of the emerging young talents, Rafael Leao. I thought the ingenuity to come up with that finish so close to goal, I thought that was brilliant.
He's so good to watch as well. Yeah, he's so exciting. Giroud's header was against Gianluigi Donnarumma, of course, former AC Milan goalkeeper. A bit of a controversial move when he left such a famous club like that. Of course, he was academy graduate. I think he was first choice keeper there when he was like 16 or 17 or something.
Yeah.
He's still really young. So when he took to the San Siro field for the first time since leaving the club, what happened?
Yep, the AC Milan fans were not happy with him, to say the least.
Really?
And to be fair, he played 250 games for the club, 251 games for the club, sorry. And to get to that at the age he is, he's still very young. He was a great servant to them coming up, but I think he came through that club, and I think the Milan fans had this attitude of, he's one of our own, he's never going to leave us, he's a future captain, he's a Maldini, he's not going to go anywhere. Along come PSG, he leaves in a free transfer, and the phrase Donnarumma is coined. The AC Milan fans, I believe, they call him a mercenary. They think he was just out for the money. So to prove that, they went to the trouble of printing fake banknotes with Donnarumma's face on it before launching them at him when he took to the field. And they got me thinking a little bit about ex-players going back to their old sides and not maybe getting the best of receptions. I mean, the one that immediately springs to mind is Luis Figo.
Figo with the pig's head.
Yeah, when he went to Real Madrid from Barcelona, he goes to take that corner in 2002, and obviously taking inspiration from The Godfather, a pig's head is launched at him, which I think I read an interview with Michael Reisiger, who was playing for Barcelona at the time. He's like, we just couldn't believe it. It was just like, we came out of the dressing room
is so
and they're like, what? Like, unbelievable. And another one that popped into my mind was Emmanuel Adebayor, if you remember, in the Premier League.
My favourite celebration of all time. I love the pettiness of it. It's
the panning of the camera when he seems to get faster and faster and you think he's going towards the Arsenal fans, and he just knee slides, and you see things raining. You don't condone things raining down on players, but it's an unbelievable iconic moment in football history, going back against his old fans and celebrating like that.
Yeah, cold celebration. We're speaking about how British sides haven't done too well in Europe this week. Another really tough defeat for Manchester United. But it was a game, there was a lot of controversy. Let's first of all talk about the Rashford red card. Oh my God.
Yep.
I'm not having it. I'm not having it at all.
I would tend to disagree with you. I think it's more of a red card than perhaps Maeda. I know a lot of them have been compared over the week.
No. Rashford's not a red card, nor is Maeda. They're not red cards.
I think Rashford, when it's slowed down to that level, it does look bad. I understand it. He's put his foot in there. I think it's another one that split opinion completely. And like you said again, it's another one that completely changes the course of the game.
Yeah. He's just trying to shield the ball for me. He's just trying to shield the ball, get his body in front. There's no malice in that challenge. But
much like yourself, I think Erik ten Hag wasn't too happy with that, or indeed the penalty awards.
It's clear we are very disappointed, and because you play very good, I think. We started the game so well, best minutes of this season. We are winning the game, and I think the red card changes everything. And then we concede 2 goals before halftime, which should never have count. First is offside, second a penalty, and that is in 4 games, 4 penalties against, and where I say 3 are very debatable.
Yeah, so 2-0 lead they raced into, of course, then they get the red card, Haaland getting the first 2. I can't believe for the third that Fernandes didn't let him take the penalty.
I mean,
that's quite poor.
I'm actually quite a big fan of the penalty taker takes the penalty. Don't start making changes at that point. That's when people start missing. Interesting thing that Ten Hag was talking about there, that they've conceded 4 penalties in 4 games. I mean, okay, you could debate the referees' decisions to the cows come home, but I mean, 4 penalties in 4 games is not it's not an anomaly. These things happen for a reason.
Yeah,
you know?
not at all. Not at all. Interestingly, a former Scottish football player, not Scottish football player, played in the Scottish leagues, Mohamed Elyounoussi was playing last night as well, and he done well.
Yes, he got a goal. I thought he's obviously found a home at Copenhagen after his move from Southampton. He looked really good, and then we got the final. It was such a topsy-turvy game, and I think those final 2 goals for Copenhagen really summed it up, and especially the winning goal, Rooney Bardghji. He's 6 days shy when he scored that goal of his 18th birthday, coming off the bench. The commentator, I was actually saying, this boy, he's the real deal. He's going to be a big star, and it must feel great. He's feeling vindicated like that. He comes on.
The commentator buzzing there.
Yeah, and he scores that goal. He's already been dubbed the Swedish Messi, of course. Anybody that pops up with a moment like that,
Just like Ryan Gold was the Scottish
Messi
back in the day.
is going to get that acclaim. But that got me thinking this week about wonderkids and how we are really quick to build them up. I'm actually reading a really good book just now. It's called The Next Big Thing by Ryan Baldy. It's all about guys who maybe don't make the grade or come up, and they're hyped up really young, and where it takes them. So I've picked out three of my favourite stories of wonder kids from the Champions League and from Europe in general. The first one, let me take you back to the year 2000. Before you were born, I believe.
Yes.
And AS Monaco in France, so they won the title that year. And the young player of the year was a defender called Philippe Christonval. This guy, he was tipped to be...
You're working on that pronunciation all morning, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I've been practicing that all week. This guy was tipped to be massive, and he joined Barcelona, as a lot of young players do. They have a great season in Europe, they make the move to Real Madrid or Barcelona, and this guy was going to be the defensive stalwart to build that team around. Released after 31 appearances. He then went on to try and make a move to Marseille, another great European name. Released after 13 appearances. At that point, he goes on trial with Arsene Wenger's Arsenal, obviously a guy Arsene Wenger has known for the youth ranks in France. Arsenal decide not to sign him. He then makes a move to Fulham, where he does make 36 appearances over 3 years before retiring at 29 without a club. And it's a story of a guy who's built up so much in his youth and didn't really make it.
So sad.
The next one you will definitely heard of, Bojan Krkic.
Oh, I loved him. Watching him, Pedro and Messi.
Yep.
Back in the day, brilliant.
He was a player that was definitely given this tag of, this is going to be the next Messi. I think Barcelona really had a whole raft of these guys that would come through. Anybody that was 18, 19, small, dribbling player, this guy's the next Messi. And don't get me wrong, Bojan did start well, like you said. He was a player that played well at Barcelona. He actually holds a brilliant stat that he was the first player in the 1990s, born in the 1990s, to score in the Champions League, which I thought was incredible. When he scored on the 1st of April 2008, he was 17 years old and 217 days when he scored for Barcelona against Schalke. He left Barcelona and he had this nomadic career where he was all over the place. He went to play for Roma, AC Milan, Ajax. I mean, great clubs. Anybody that would go and play for these,
Stoke City.
Stoke City. Yeah, end up at Stoke City before going to play for Mainz, Alaves, and then Montreal Impact and Vissel Kobe. Again, a guy who we expected so much of, and it never really panned out for him. And my final one, a player that I've always really been interested in and never really got to the bottom of it, and actually why I've got this shirt behind me. This was the Porto away shirt from 2004, the year they won the Champions League, the year Jose Mourinho really became to prominence with all these iconic moments running down the touchline at Manchester United, and they beat Monaco 3-0 in the final. And this guy, he was 19 years old in that final, and he scored the first goal. I'm talking about Carlos Alberto, a guy who was fleeting in Europe but made a big impact. Like I said, he scored that first goal in that final, and it's a great finish. It's a brilliant volley. But Porto, they're so good at unearthing these young players, so good at unearthing these gems, but they also know when to let them go. And 7 months later, he was released. He was back to Brazil, and And they sold him for just 4.2 million. You think a guy who's 19 years old, just scored in a Champions League final, and they sell him for £4.2 million to Corinthians. But they were proved to be vindicated. He flitted between clubs in Brazil. There was talk of an attitude problem. There was talk of his agents interfering. And he did come back to Europe a little bit. He went back to Werder Bremen. And Werder Bremen broke their club transfer record at the time to sign him for £7.8 million. He only went on to play 3 more times in Europe, once in the Champions League, twice in the Bundesliga. He made 3 appearances after they spent their club record fee on him. He went back to Brazil and flitted between clubs before retiring in 2018. And for a guy that won the Champions League before his 20th birthday, and then never really went on to do anything else, I'm left with a feeling of what might have been.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of players like that. I think one of the most famous ones when people talk about wonder kids is Freddie Adu.
Yeah,
like that story. One of the youngest players to play for the USA. There's loads. It never really happened for them for one reason or another. Maybe other examples. I'm trying to think of examples of players who. Odegaard's probably the best example of someone who was really, really hyped at a young age and has actually gone on to become a proper. I
think with Odegaard there was definitely a time when it didn't look like that was going to happen.
Yeah.
He went to Real Madrid and he was so young. He was 15 years old when they took him at Real Madrid, and I think that may have been too young. And he always spent time out on loan. I remember he went to Heerenveen in Holland, and he started picking up performances. And I think just getting that time to breathe, just outside the media hype, and actually just play the football. And you see him now. He's putting in unbelievable performance for Arsenal and one of the best midfielders out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there's plenty of wonder kids we've forgotten about, so you can let us know in the comments section of your favourite wonder kids. Have they been successful? Have they not? Let us know in the comment section below. We'll perhaps run through them at a later date. But Blair, unfortunately, that's all we have time for this week. We'll be back with the next European special show on Matchday 5. See you then.